All right. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Hey, it's your SA Bobby J coming to you live and in living color back in Kajabi as a part of Reset. I know y'all thought y'all was done with me. You thought you was through. Guess again, I'm back one more round. Just want to kind of come in and just share a little bit of information with you guys. I was speaking with Miss Angie and we are talking about the holidays. And I said, you know what? I should probably come back in and just do it live, kind of get everybody in the mindset in terms of what's getting ready to take place. The last thing that I want to see, the last thing I need to hear is that everything that y'all gained in the last 40 days, that you lose it all in 1 week. And not necessarily 1 week, but one day. Get so excited for Resurrection Day that y'all just just resurrect yourself, resurrect your old gut and butt self, resurrect and throw back every trophy and go back doing the things that you know you have no business doing. So, first and foremost, before we get started in, I've got one of my champions that's riding co-host with me today. She's off screen doing what she's going to do, but she wanted to be a part live. I've also extended an invitation out to my other champions. So you may have some people that might drop in unexpectedly. I even put it in the Kajabi app for those of y'all that may want to surf on in. Again, just really informal. Just want to share a few things. Before we get started, the first thing I would like to do is to say thank you. To say thank you on behalf of Dr. Joe, Miss Angie Bingham, and the rest of the leadership of Reset. For those of you all that sold your seed, sold into the ministry, TKL, thank you. Thank you all so much. If you guys didn't get a chance to hear from Dr. Joe's heart on this past week, listening to the journey update, I know many of y'all probably just got excited for the thought that, hey, you get to continue on in the journey, but the part that you needed to hear was really his heart toward the people of God, his heart toward wanting to see you all healed, wanting to see us healed, living a better life. And so again, it goes to without saying that ministry does cost. Oftentimes we think it's free. You know, we pay for so many things, but the things that we should value the most are the things that we're willing to put value to. And the thing that you should value the most is your health. And again, you're in a spot in a form where you know you've got proven results, tried, tested, and true. I'm living proof. Dr. Joe's living proof. There's other that's living proof. I'm looking at some of these before and after pictures. There's many of y'all that's living proof. And so you guys kind of, it's like what Malachi has to say. Got to preach to you just a little bit. Will a man rob God? Say, yet you have robbed me. Now I know some of y'all got your opinion on tithing, and we ain't talking about tithing, but some of y'all came in like thieves. You stole all the information, you stole the time, and you didn't sow anything. That's my spill on that. I'm not gonna ride you on that, but I want to encourage you all to do what's right. For those of y'all that are deciding to move on to the journey, that link is up. First 2,000 get in. Thereafter that, I think you got what 48 hours. So you got one more day. Then he's going to put it out to the public. So if you want that seat, get that seat. That just shows the graciousness and the generosity of Dr. Joe to even extend an invitation for everyone to come in spite of the lack of giving, to provide that for whosoever will. So you don't even need a personal invite. You just need to just click that link that's in Kajabi and make sure you sign up and register. You want to do that sooner rather than later while the seats are available. And if you go into the journey, I would encourage you at the end of that process, don't just come in and steal the information. Come in, sow a seed, be a willing vessel, have a willing heart that you might sow into the ministry and then reap the benefits and the rewards, not just on the physical side, but the spiritual side as well. So I know you're thinking, hey, I didn't inherit this. I didn't come in to get all of this. I came in to talk about Sunday, Resurrection Day. All right, so I don't have a slideshow presentation that typically kind of helps out, but I just got a few things jotted down. What I would encourage you guys to do is to go back into the YouTube archives on Journey Life TV. There are several lives that Dr. Joe has done that talks about the holidays. I know there's one that he talks about in particular that deals with Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. At the end of the day, a holiday is a holiday. It's all the same. It's all the same, and most of us have that same mindset when it comes to holidays. Is that hey, it's time to eat. I want to eat. What can I eat? And I'm not just time to eat. What can I eat? How much can I eat? And what we gonna have to eat? So But needless to say, there's some things that I just want to just kind of sow into you as you guys get ready for this holiday. Now, Dr. Joe always tells us in this process, you're not having a cheat week, you're not having a cheat day, you're having a cheat meal. Now, I don't necessarily want to look at it and call it a cheat, even though I love cheat codes and things like that. You know, the mindset you need to take into this is really simple. There's two questions you have to ask yourself. Um, Either you're going to do it or you're not going to do it. And when I say do it, either you're going to do that which is right or you're going to do that which is wrong. And that choice, that decision has to be made up in advance. Because the biggest thing that you're going to need come Sunday, come any holiday, any major event where food is involved, is you have to have a made up mind. Either you're going to do it or you're not. It's the first thing you got to ask yourself. Either I'm going to do it or I'm not. Now, if you're going to do that which is right, you're going to follow the tenets of the 40 day, then it's a non issue. Carry on, do that which you know is right. Godspeed. You can do it. It's going to be all right. But if you say to yourself, you know what, I am going to deviate, I'm going to change this, I'm going to mix this, I'm going to make sure I get this, then no matter how big or how small you're deviating from the process, then you commit to yourself that I'm going to do something that I know technically that's not right, technically wrong. Yes, with you within your realm, within your reason to do it. The 40-day reset access is pretty much done, but you're on your own. But at the end of the day, I want to encourage you to continue to pursue results. Think back to myself and I think back to the times when I've lost weight in this process. I have my biggest losses in between sessions. So again, I remember when I did my 40-day, I had my biggest loss after the 40-day going into the journey. Why? Because I kept going and my body kicked into metabolic momentum, which means that weight started coming off. I was able to shed it effortlessly. And so that's the thing that you have to keep in mind where you're at in this process. For 40 days, you've been retooling your mind, you've been retooling your body, and you first got to ask yourself, do you want to mess it up now? For a day, for a week, for a weekend, understanding that this day and the significance is not a food day. This day and the significance is the fact that our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ got out of the grave, that we might be saved, that we might have the right to the tree of eternal life, that he died on the cross for our sins. That is the value of this weekend. The value of this weekend is spiritual food, not necessarily natural food, but of course, as always, we've turned that which is spiritual and we've made it natural. We've celebrated, we've added food components to it. But remind yourself first and foremost that this holiday that you're approaching is a spiritual holiday and not so much a natural physical holiday, even though food is involved because that's what we do. But it is not a food day, it's a spiritual day. But I digress. Let's get back to the whole concept of food. All right. So the first thing I want to do, I want to give you 4 things that I want you to avoid. And these are the things that you have to have an understanding when you're approaching Sunday. You're approaching Sunday, you're getting the resurrection day as it relates to the food aspect, as it relates to having a meal. There are 4 things that you need to do, 4 things that you need to avoid. Most of it is mindset, but there's still 4 things I want to sow into you. The first one is self-sabotage. I would say if I was in church, write that down. Self-sabotage. You want to avoid self-sabotage. Well, what's self-sabotage? You have no plan, you have no preparation. Just going in the day and you're taking it whichever way it's going to come. You're going to self-sabotage yourself. You're going to show up to mama's house, grandma's house, your house, whatever. If you have no plan, no preparation, no thought process of how you're going to approach this day, approach this meal, approach the gathering, you are going to self-sabotage. And so we want you to avoid self-sabotage. Next thing that you need to avoid is avoid criticism. Write that down. Avoid criticism. Well, what do you mean criticism? Well, 40 days you've been telling people, I can't eat this, I can't eat that. And family are going to watch you. They're going to be looking at you. They want to see the difference. And if you're coming in and you've already shown great weight loss, you've already shown results, you're already getting your trophies back, they're going to see it. And you're going to be there talking about the 40-day turn up. You're going to be there talking about Dr. Joe, and they're going to be watching. And just like they treat you at church when they say, I thought you were saved, they're going to say the same thing when you pick up that plate. I thought you was living life healthy. I thought you was changed. I thought you weren't eating like this. So I want you to avoid criticism. Now, when I say avoid criticism, I'm not saying that you're going to leave the room. What I'm saying is that when those negative comments come, you have to understand first and foremost, it's an attack of the enemy. And how you approach it and how you deal with that attack of the enemy is going to either allow you to step forward or it's either going to push you back. So if you take it the right way, you'll be all right. You'll understand that maybe I just take it as a warning sign that I got to watch my P's, my Q's, do that which is right because I got people watching. So there's a place of accountability. You don't get mad. You don't get upset. You just simply say, hey, you're right. I'm going to do what's right. And that's the accountability that you need. But if you take it the wrong way, and then you decide you want to get in your feelings, get all in yourself, then that's just what the enemy wants, to get into your mind, get into your psyche and throw you off. And next thing you know, you'll be sitting in the corner somewhere eating God knows what, everything that you know you ain't got no business doing, sulking because somebody that made you mad and they done offended you and told you what you could and could not have. So avoid self-sabotage, avoid criticism by the negative talk. Again, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but when it does, don't allow it to hurl you back. You have to take it for what it is. Somebody's watching, and that's a good thing. You need somebody to watch you, to hold you accountable. But again, don't receive it in such a harsh way where again you have a negative response to it. The next thing we want you to avoid is overeating. Yes. Well, how are we going to avoid overeating? We're going to get into that. But there are just a few tidbits, and we'll circle back to some of these a little bit later. But the first thing I want to give you relative toward overeating is don't go for the big plate, go for the small plate. I say it again. Don't go for the big plate. Don't go for the platter. Don't get the biggest plate they got. If they serve it out big plates, you want a saucer. Why do I want a small plate? Smaller plate, less food. I know you can pile it high, but have you ever gone to a gathering and the place is small? You're like, man, after a while, you can only pile so much. You have to stop because you ain't got nowhere to put it. I know some of y'all think, well, I just get 2 plates. No, think 1 plate mentality. So think small plate. Next thing you need to think is that really what you're dealing with is not so much that you want to consume all of this. You really just want to taste it, right? If you go in with the mindset, it's not that you just want to eat a whole big slice of cake. You just want to taste it. You just want to reminisce. You just want to walk down memory lane with it. So understand that whatever plate that you make it small and realize, hey, you just want to taste. You just want to taste. That stuff that you ain't got no business have. You don't need that fried chicken. You ain't had fried chicken that might tear your stomach up. You're going to eat some stuff that's going to disagree with you because you've been eating a certain way for the last 40 days. So keep that in mind. So at the end of the day, just think, I just want to taste that. And a part of that overeating too is you got to listen to your body. Listen to your body. So again, you've been eating clean for 40 days, eating it in a different mindset. And so you don't want to throw your system off track, out of whack. Listen to your body. Your body will tell you that you are full. When your body tells you you are full, I forget that hormone that's a hormone that's going to kick in. I think it's leptin. Whenever that it's one of them. You got the hunger gene and you got the empty gene, but I don't know. I ain't a specialist, but whenever that hormone kick in that tells you you're full, then be full, be satisfied. Don't continue just to press yourself like you just got to eat, that you just got to have more, that you just got to fill up on it. No, once your body has said, I am satisfied, I've had enough, then that's the moment you need to stop. Take it with you, eat it a different day, save it for later. I hate to see food thrown in the trash. That's why I say small plates, small tastings, but get into that spot, listen to your body. Last thing relative to overeating, I would discourage you to all to do is eating late. Eating late. Whatever damage you're going to do, I encourage always, if you're going to do damage early in the day. Why early in the day? because you have that day to burn that off with just your natural movement, your natural energy, while your metabolism is up and burning. When you know your body shuts down at a certain time in the afternoon. It's not always when you go to sleep, but your digestive system typically slows down in the evening time. So as you get closer to your shutdown time, which is typically for most people around after 7 o'clock, when the body begins to shut down with its digestion, you don't need to still be going at it. You need to be done, but you want to be done before then, which will allow whatever you have consumed, that the body in its natural digestive state will begin to kind of push this thing through your digestive system so you're not taking it to bed with you. Last thing you want to do is go to bed on a full stomach, even though you can say, oh, it's been 2 hours since you ate. If you eat the wrong thing, even after 2 hours, it'll still be sitting in your gut. So avoid eating late. All right, so those are some tips into avoiding self-sabotage, avoiding criticism, and then avoiding overeating. And then the fourth thing I want you to avoid is complicating the day. Fourth thing, avoid complicating the day. It's just a day, as Dr. Joe tells us all the time. It is just a day. We understand the spiritual significance of it all, that it is a holiday, but it's a spiritual holiday. Again, not a natural day of, oh, I just got to eat. No. Eating, we've allowed as man to include it. But remember, it is just a day. So you can treat it as a usual day, right? You can continue to have your 4 meals, 400 calories or less every 3 hours. And then you just want to have a little special in the midst of that, by all means, feel free. Don't panic. Don't get overwhelmed. Don't overcomplicate it. You show up to the gathering and you see stuff that you just want to have. Again, look, smell, maybe taste, walk away. Look to see what you can have and understand what you can have. All right, so those are the things we're talking about avoiding. So now let's get into strategy of it all. So again, as I started out talking, the first thing I said is that you have to have a made up mind. You have to either know that you are or that you're not. And so let's talk strategy. So you got to put a plan in place. The only way that you're going to be successful on Sunday or any holiday, because not only do you have Resurrection Day that's happening on Sunday, but you're going to follow up with Memorial Day. And then you're going to follow up with Juneteenth, especially for y'all that's down south. And then you're going to follow up with the 4th of July. That's a cookout. It's the summertime. Everybody's going to be pulling out the grills. There's going to be cookouts left and right. You got the family reunions that's coming. You got the high school graduations, the college graduations. You're going to have almost food celebrations all summer long, all the way till you get to Labor Day. So it's the same concept. It's the same concept, and you can even take it into those fall holidays as well for Christmas, Thanksgiving, and New Year's. Same concept. You have to have a plan. There's no way that you could approach a holiday or a gathering and not have a plan in mind. You must, please, people of God, have a plan in mind. You have to be thinking proactive and not reactive. If you think reactive, then again, that leads to a place of self-sabotage. But if you're proactive and you have a plan, then you're going to guarantee your success. So again, you have to ask yourself, you got two choices. Either you're going to do right or you're going to do wrong. If you know you're going to do right, then you're good. You're okay. We praise God. We thank God. Continue to go forth and do right, young man. Continue to go forth and do right, young lady. You do it to the best of your ability. You're okay. But again, if you've decided within your spirit and within your heart that you are going to do wrong, you need a plan. Yes, when I say you need a plan for doing wrong. And I want you to, in your plan for doing wrong, is to give you what I call a 3-phase strategy. A 3-phase strategy. All right. Now, in this 3-phase strategy, you need to have a plan for the day before, the day of, and the day after. So you know the Resurrection Day is coming. You need a plan for Saturday, you need a plan for Sunday, and you need a plan for Monday. Why do I need 3 plans? I'm glad you asked. You having 3 plans with a conscious choice, a conscious decision is going to help you in this process should you decide to veer off path, if you should decide to do something you ain't got no business doing. So this three-phase strategy is going to help you. Now, mind you, I'm not talking about my strategy. I'm talking about your strategy, but I want you to establish it in three phases. You know what you're going to do. You know where you're going, what's on the menu. Maybe you don't know, but you know whose house you're going to, and you know what they typically might have. It's Resurrection Day. You already know that ham probably is going to be number one on the menu, right? Some of y'all that like the leg of lamb or rack of lamb, that might be on the menu, but you might even have your turkey, your pot roast. You know the fixings. And potato salad is gonna be there. You don't need now. The first thing you can get rid of is potato salad. You don't need potato salad. I know you think you do, but if you decide to, just a taste. But I digress. Let's get back three-phase strategy. All right. So when I say you need a plan for the day before, is that the day before on Sunday, you need to have a plan in place about that day so you can tackle Sunday. Now, what is the plan that you need for the day before? The plan that you need for the day before is to follow the 40-day turn-up regimen to a T. It is to be perfect in your 40-day regimen. It is not a time to deviate before the day of the holiday. You're going to have to live this day perfect, just like every day. That's including your 4 meals, your 400 calories or less every 3 hours. You're going to have to make sure you get your water. And I would encourage you by all means to make sure you exercise. You want to have an active day on the day before. You want your Saturday to be pristine. You want it to be just as it should be. Don't look at it as your Saturday as, oh, I got Saturday, Sunday, and Monday to veer off. No. You want Saturday, the day before, that's your plan. Follow the 40-day regimen to a T. I get it. You haven't planned on it, but you need to plan on it because you're trying to gear yourself up for Sunday. So got to have a plan for the day before. I would encourage you, again, the day before, follow the 40-day turn up to a T. All right, the day of. Now we're talking about the day of. So you got to plan for the day before, preparing for that. Then now you want to prepare for the day of. And so when we talk about the day of, we've already talked about in terms of avoiding overeating, right? We talked about that. All right, so again, just to reiterate on that, we talked about having small portions, keeping in mind small plate, small portions, you just want to taste. On the day of, this is maybe before you get to the event or even after the event, you need to have an active day. Again, it's Sunday. Go to church for the most part. You may get into the praise and the worship, but other than that, you're going to be sitting down. You're going over to people's house, the fellowship. You're going to be standing. You're not going to be moving as much. You need to find a time to get some activity in, right? Whether you exercise or not, whether you go for a walk before the meal or after the meal, you need to find a way to be your most active. You want your metabolism, excuse my language. You want your metabolism to stay intact. You want to have the mindset of, I need to be burning food. I need to be burning fuel. You don't want to get to a sedentary lifestyle where your body says, okay, I'm going to hold back. I want to shut down. So you want to be active. You want to be very, very active. I've already mentioned, you don't want to have that meal, that cheat meal. You don't want to be late. You want it to be earlier in the day. Now, mind you, I'm not the one that's cooking. You're the one that's cooking or going over to eat. I'm not sure what time they're serving, but you don't want to get there to the place where, again, you're eating at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. That's too late anyway. You want to be able to eat early. So whatever damage you're going to do, you want to be able to do that early. So don't make it late. Now, again, when we talk about the day of, here's the thing that you can do. And some people, now, if you're the one that's cooking, then you control everything. You're in control, right? It's your menu. If it's your menu, then prepare what you know what's to be right. Prepare what you know what you can have. And if you want to prepare extra or do the typical fixings, do the typical fixings, but then have those 40-day approved meals, have that 40-day approved menu, have those items available for yourself while your guests are eating. stuff you have to prepare for them, then you stay on task and eat the stuff that you have for you. If you're cooking, you can do that. That's what I do. You know, I have the fixings for everybody. Yes, I'm the cook in the house. I probably should have pulled up a pick or two, but I lay it all out. But I always have like 3 or 4 dishes for myself that I know, hey, look, I can have these items and still be on task with the 40-day turn up. Meal prep is already, it's Sunday anyway, so I'm already going to take that meal prep coming into the weekend, into the next week. So it's going to already be there. So, and if I decide to deviate again, my mindset is saying, I just want to taste. I just want to taste. I ain't necessarily trying to indulge. I just want to taste. All right. So that's if you're preparing, you're in control. But if you're going to somebody's house, you can bring your own. And if you think they're going to be offended, give them a call in advance. Hey, sister such and such. Hey, ma. Hey, grandma. Hey, ma, dear, whoever you call in. Hey, Uncle Joe. Can I bring my own? And you necessarily try to bring for the whole family. If you just need to bring your meal prep to feed yourself, then that's what you do. Again, the importance of the holiday, again, is first and foremost spiritual, and then the fellowship with family, then the fellowship to hang out with family and friends. Then you can do that. But you can always bring your own. Now, if you're there, you didn't bring your own. Now you're left with having to choose from everybody. Choose from what's been provided for you. Then you understand protein, carbs, and fat. You know how to build a plate. You may not have a food scale. I have a little portable food scale. Don't always pull it out, but don't want you necessarily eyeballing your food. But at the same time, understand. Look, you control your portions. You determine what's on your plate. Look for those things that you know you can have and avoid those things that you know you should not have. Avoid the potato salad, right? I would even tell you to avoid the mac and cheese, but I know you're like, what? I got to have me some mac and cheese. Again, a taste, get your noodle. Just you get a feel for it that's going to satisfy you. That's all you want is just to walk down memory lane anyway. But don't get to trying to fill up on a big old plate of mac and cheese because you ain't had none in a minute. It's unnecessary. Guess what? If they have gravy, you don't need gravy. I know you think you do, but you don't. Avoid the dinner rolls. You want to avoid anything that's got some yeast in it. I would almost rather you have a piece of cornbread than have a dinner roll. That yeast will swell you up. But I digress. I don't want to get so caught up into that. But again, you have to identify those things that you know that you can have that are safe to have, and identify those things that you know you have no business having, and stay away from those at all costs. All righty. So again, 3 phases: the day before, the day of, and now let's talk about the day after, because you're going to need a strategy for the day after. So the strategy for the day after is to get back on the bicycle and ride like you did the day before. This is very simple. Let's get back on the 40-day turn up. Again, we're talking about one meal within one day, not a week, not a weekend, not a bunch of days. Oh, but what about the leftovers? What about the leftovers? By this time, you should meal prepping for the week. You want to be able to move forward. Again, this is for those of you all that want to sustain and maintain your results within the 40-day. Now, again, if you got it in your mind, hey, that you about to use this week and you about to kick it, you about to eat to your heart's content, by all means, that's your choice. But just know that all the trophies that you gained over the last 40 days will soon be lost. And then it's going to take you extra time, extra effort to get back to where you were just on last Saturday. So I would encourage you all not to do that, not to go back, but to press in, to journey on, to continue to sustain and maintain. So the day after, again, you want to treat it just like 40-day to the T, and you want to make sure you back on your water and that you exercise. Now, for those of you all that like to enjoy alcoholic beverages, I can't help you with that because I don't drink alcohol. So my knowledge, my mindset, I'm not even a wine drinker. I'm, back in the day, of course, I was pro soda, what we call it, crack punch. But, sugary drinks, but now we just straight water. I like a little seltzer water from time to time, but so for those y'all that drink alcohol, I can't help you on that. You have to go talk to somebody who can specialize in it. All I know is that you drinking empty calories. I would discourage you from drinking your calories, but know that that's what's going to happen. As you drink your alcohol, all you're doing is adding to your caloric intake. So avoid that because all it is really just sugar. All right, so you got a strategy for the day before, you got a strategy for the day of, and you got a strategy for the day after. All right, so let's talk about it again. Sum things up. Sunday comes. It's Resurrection Day. It is a spiritual holiday. You got to remind yourself it is a spiritual holiday. Not so much a physical holiday. It's not necessarily geared for food, but food is a part of it. So when it comes down to your meal, your menus, those things, the things that you need to avoid. Look for the things that you know that you can have. Again, top 3 on the list that I would tell you to avoid at all costs, your breads, anything that got yeast in it, you want to avoid. Avoid your potatoes. I would avoid potatoes, but you just feel like you need to have potato salad, you can do a potato salad with cauliflower. I have done it. I like it. The family don't like it, so I don't typically make it because I find myself the only one to eat it. You want to avoid rice. For those that have rice within the particular setting that you're in, there's little things you can avoid. There's other things you want to avoid as well too. You want to avoid your extra condiments, your extra sauces, your gravies, your ketchups, um, anything that's going to add calories that you may not even be thinking about because you don't take them in account. You want to avoid those things above all. Again, look for the approved carbs that you know that you can have. Now, keep in mind, the pinto beans is looking good, but the pinto beans is a protein. It's not a veggie. Yes, it's a bean. It's a lentil. If you're vegan, you're straight. But if you've been eating carnivore and you eat meat, hey, look, you don't necessarily need the slice of ham and the beans too. You double proteining yourself, and I would discourage you from double proteining yourself. So you need to understand that. So look for what you can have and stay in control. That's the most important thing for Sunday. You have to stay in control. You see that cake? You ain't seen cake in a while. It's all right to be excited. It's all right to say it look good, smell good. Look at it, enjoy it, treat it for the monument that it is. A wonderful cake that somebody took the time to make. Doesn't necessarily mean that you need to just have a big old slice. If you want to have a thin slice or just a taste, then by all means, do that. But stay in control. Don't stay in control. And if by chance you decide to get out of control, again, the plan for the next day is to get back in control. So if you fall out of control on Sunday, don't stay out of control on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. Get back in control as fast as possible, as quick as possible, and get back to the lifestyle that you know that you need to sustain. Now, with that said, I'm gonna conclude on this, and then I got a few people on the call with me. Thank you again, champion Christine Gavin. I see Sister Dale Reed with us, always faithful, always supportive. I see her cameras off, mics off. I'm not sure if she has any questions, anything that she may want to add, but I appreciate her time and support. But the last comment that I will
Hey
make,
y'all.
hey,
Thank you so much,
uh,
Supervisor Bobby. You're always so on point. I love it.
yes, ma'am. Praise
Yes.
God. We thank you. We
Thank you
thank
so
God for you.
much.
But the
Hmm.
last thing I will get into is this concept of fasting. Now, mind you, I've been open and honest about my stance on intermittent fasting over the weekends because that's what I practice. Again, as a preacher of the gospel, when I go into the pulpit on Sunday, I don't like, we have sunrise service on Sunday. I don't even really want the breakfast, but to not offend the congregation, I might nibble on something just so nobody wants to figure out, well, why you're not eating. I typically don't like, that's me. I don't like to minister with food on my stomach because I don't want to be in a situation where I'm trying to figure out what's going on while I'm standing before the people of God. That's me. Uh, but my thoughts on fasting, because sometimes people say to themselves, look, it's Resurrection Day. I'm going to fast the day before going into Resurrection Day. Remember, I said you got to have a plan for the day before.
Hmm.
If you decide you want to fast the day before, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, But you have to understand that when you're coming off that fast, whenever you get to that meal, you don't want to go with a no holds bar type of situation into the meal. Just because you fast, it doesn't necessarily mean I get to just eat whatever and I can have all the calories and I get to make up for the time lost. No, you're not making up for time lost. It becomes a mindset. You're coming off of a fast, your stomach has shrunk, your intake can be reduced. You can actually eat less. That's not the day, the time, and the moment to eat more. It's the time to
Mm-hmm.
stay in control of what you're taking into your system. So that's the concept in terms of the day before. Because most of us, we get into these starving patterns, these starving modes. And then when we come off, we want to go in, just, just want to eat everything. And that's the wrong mindset. So nothing wrong if you do a fast before, but understanding what you need to do to come off of that fast the next day. Even as Dr. Joe has taught us and instruct us, the day of. I'm not saying you can't fast the day of, but I would encourage you to have smaller meals, smaller increments, so that when you show up to the dinner, you're not starving. Because if you're starving with all of the food and you've been fasting, if you lack self-control, if you lack discipline, then you're going to hit the table, you're going to hit it hard. So smaller meals, you got something in your system, then you're not as prone to just go for it, when it's time to eat. You can do what we talked about earlier. Stay in control, be in control. So I'm not anti-fasting. I'm not saying don't do it, but what I am saying again, that when you do fast, or if you choose to fast, then you have to have an understanding of what you're doing with the fast. You're not starving yourself so you can eat. And if you're approaching it that way, starving yourself so you can eat, then at the end of the day, after you starved yourself, and then after you've made that big old plate, you're going to be sitting there and your stomach is going to be hurting. You're going to have digestive issues. And then when you go to bed at night, you're going to be loaded up. And then when you wake up in the morning, you're going to be heavier than what you thought you should be. You're going to be trying to figure out, well, what happened? Your body, this is again, we talked about it with that curve, the spike in insulin resistance. It's going to have so much in it. It's just going to be working hard, 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 hard. Especially if you ain't did nothing, you ain't moved on Sunday, then the body's just going to be like, well, shoot, I'm just going to hold on to this at the top of the mountain. I'm going to store it away as fat and I'll get to it tomorrow. So that's the thing that you don't want to do. So again, lessen that curve to lessen that spike. Go ahead and have a few small things. By all means, make sure you drink your water so that when you get to that meal, you lessen. Again, another strategy to look at too is what is the one thing that you just feel like you just want to have above everything else? Because typically that's what it is. It's that one thing that you just feel like, again, you just want to taste. If that's what it is, then just go ahead and have that taste. Hey, you taste it, memories came back, smiles come back, it's going to taste just as good as it did the last time, then you're on your way. But don't get to the place where you just overly indulge for the sake of overly indulge. Trust me. A slice of cake, a taste of cake. The difference is you getting full up on it versus you being able to enjoy that moment to say, that tastes good. If you got to think of it like a wine tasting, right? People who taste wine, what to not get drunk, what do? They just let it swish in their mouth and then they spit it out. Now, I know I ain't trying to gross nobody out, tell y'all to go put some cake in your mouth and spit it out. But again, you just want to taste. Just want to taste. You ain't trying to overindulge yourself. You just want to taste. All right. So I think that's pretty much what I have as far as my notes are concerned. I pray that this has blessed and encouraged you all, giving you some food for thought as you begin to approach on Sunday. You came in looking for a meal plan or a menu of what you can and cannot have, that I do not have. I can, in fact, I left mine at the house to say what I am preparing for Sunday, but I'll give it to you off the top of my head. I do plan on having a smoked turkey. I do plan on having ham. I do plan on having pot roast. I do plan on having dressing, mac and cheese. Yes, I cook all that for the people, but for myself, I've got collard greens. I know I can have that. I've got green beans. I know I can have that. I've got Brussels sprouts. I know I can have that. And so I make sure that I have items that I know that I can have. That way I don't have to worry about the other things that everybody else is having. I cook those things for them to enjoy because cooking is my love language. Something I like to do for the family. And so they know that. So it gives me pleasure and joy to share that with them. But then I know what I need to do to discipline for myself. All right. All right, so I'm gonna pause for a second. I'm gonna see if Miss Dale Reed or Miss Christine Gavin, if they have anything they want to add or say, any questions. I'm not sure if anybody else has tried to surf in. And if they're good, then I'm good.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm good. I'm gonna have my little bit of dressing. I'm gonna stay away from the mac and cheese and the potato salad. I eliminated those years ago, and I'm just not gonna add them back in. But I will have some dressing in moderation.
Yes, ma'am. That's good.
Not
That's
giving
good.
any trophies back.
Yes, ma'am. That's how you got to be. But no, she said in moderation. So she's got it already mapped out in her mind. I know what I'm gonna have. I'm gonna have it to that size. So again, you got to have a plan. So if you approach it and you don't say, look, you already know if you're gonna do it or not, right? You already know. You already know if you're gonna indulge. You got to be honest with yourself and just have a plan with how you're gonna approach it. Thank you so much for that, Miss Del Reed. Miss Christine, you got anything you want to add? Now, she may not answer because she did tell me she was about to work out. So, but I thank God for my champion for coming in, hanging out with her essay. For those of y'all that missed us, it's not your fault. It's my fault. It was impromptu. I threw it out there at the last minute. So, but again, hopefully this recording you will find encouraging, find what you need, get the inspiration that you need to continue the process. If you don't like what I have to say, I get it. I understand. Go over to Journey Life TV and YouTube. Dr. Joe has plenty of other videos where he talks about the holidays. You feed off of that, but trust and believe. There is a path, there's a process to get you through Sunday. And you don't have to fret. You don't have to be afraid. You don't have to feel like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? You're in control. Just stay in control, have a plan, and work the plan. All righty. Are you all be blessed? It was so good to chatting with you all again. Thank God, Miss Angie, for letting me have this forum again. To all of you all, God bless. Have a wonderful day.